I remember vividly the moment I watched our fourth rocket soar into the skies and hold steady in its ascent. It was a triumph that stood on the shoulders of countless failures, one of which nearly ended everything I had worked for. Many years ago, when I was still grappling with how to turn grand visions into real-world projects, I encountered a stretch of disappointment that hit me harder than I could have imagined. Poured every ounce of energy and capital into our early SpaceX launches. The first rocket exploded only seconds after liftoff, the second one never reached orbit, and the third ended in another crash that left our team's morale in pieces. Each setback represented not just a technical failure, but a personal blow. I questioned the right person to drive a mission of this magnitude. The media found it easy to point at my ambitions as outlandish, and I even began to wonder if they were correct. The fear of letting everyone down, colleagues, investors, family, weighed on me. Every step forward was overshadowed by the looming possibility of another downfall. I found myself dwelling on the mistakes in my mind and fearing the next round of bad news. Yet somewhere deep within, I remained convinced that such success was possible, even if I didn't see how just yet. In those moments, the darkest hour often arrives just before the dawn of insight. When we lost the third rocket, we were nearly out of funding. It felt like the world was crumbling beneath our feet. There was a single conversation that changed my mindset. A member of our engineering team said to me, "We haven't failed, we've simply learned how not to do it." This realization stirred something inside Matt. A renewed willingness to adapt, pivot, and keep learning until we got it right. My confidence didn't skyrocket immediately, but the belief in our collective resilience began to burn brighter. I saw that failure was not a verdict, but a step long way to innovation. The actual breakthrough moment came when I recognized that while goals might be firm, methods cannot be rigid. If something wasn't working, needed to alter our approach and adapt quickly, we had to view each rocket test as an opportunity to discover errors, fine-tune systems, and deploy new tactics. That shift in perception turned every obstacle into an invitation to evolve. It wasn't about ignoring risk or glossing over problems. It was about cultivating a relentless adaptability that refined our methods until success was no longer a distant dream, but an inevitable outcome. If you're here today listening to this message, you're probably carrying your own stories of triumphs and failures. You might recall the heartbreak of a product launch that flopped or a critical pitch that never landed. Perhaps you're on the verge of giving up. You're searching for the spark to keep moving. I want you to know that you're not alone. My journey might sound dramatic, given the scale of rockets and space exploration, but the emotional roller coaster is universal. We've all experienced that tension between lofty goals and the pain of reality. We've all stood at crossroads, wondering if it's time to quit or push forward. This shared human experience is what binds us, and it's also the gateway to collective motivation. We can glean strength from each other's setbacks and breakthroughs. Today, I invite you to embrace an entirely new path, one defined by the willingness to adapt at every twist and turn. Life itself is the ultimate dynamic system. The moment we think we've got it all figured out, everything shifts. Our response to these shifts defines whether we languish or flourish. By accepting that change is a feature, not a bug, we open ourselves to new opportunities that might initially present as problems. We unshackle our creativity and discover powerful ways to innovate. More importantly, we cultivate a mind that grows stronger with every disruption. So let us embark on this journey together, ready to reshape our thinking, refine our strategies, and constantly evolve. Because when we prepare ourselves for change, we don't just survive uncertainty, we harness it to reach we never dreamed possible. Change is inevitable. Adaptability is the master key to unlocking its benefits. That's our focus today. Together, let's dive into the depths of what it means to remain flexible, to pivot swiftly, and to transform every failure into a launching pad for future successes. The time for a fixed mindset has passed. Now is the moment to embrace adaptive mindset that builds upon lessons learned, harnesses the power of iteration, and unleashes the creative energy needed to navigate a world that rarely sits still. Our expedition begins now. I would like to explore 5 pivotal insights that reinforce the idea of embracing dynamic change. Each insight will reflect a different angle on adaptability, from the discoveries we make when we ask the right questions, to the lessons we glean from heartfelt stories, to the power of data-driven analysis, and beyond. We'll involve ourselves in interactive thought, culminating in a robust approach to solving problems. Think of it as a modular blueprint for a rapidly shifting future. I invite you to keep an open mind as we dive in. The knowledge we uncover might just change the trajectory of your life and work in ways you can't yet imagine. First insight stems from our innate desire to search for deeper truths and notice subtle shifts before they become overwhelming storms. Ask yourself, how can we detect the quiet signals that something in our personal or professional life needs to change? How do we respond once we hear them? We begin with an exploration of how discoveries often emerge when we allow ourselves to question old assumptions, remain receptive to new information. In a world that evolves faster than ever, first step is to cultivate a willingness to see beyond the comfort. Let's dive in. Our journey into the heart of adaptability starts here at the point where curiosity intersects with genuine observation. Perhaps you've wondered if there was a clue hidden in your routines, a subtle sign that your current process needs an overhaul. You might see your team losing energy in meetings. You might sense that a carefully built plan just isn't resonating with the market. The question I pose to you is this: often miss these early indicators until the stakes become painfully high and the cost of change skyrockets. Consider a recent scenario in which an electric vehicle startup recognized, much earlier than many of its competitors, that battery supply chains were poised to face significant disruptions. Their awareness arose from simply asking, where does our battery technology come from, and how might global shifts in resource availability affect us? This single question triggered an internal audit of their entire supply chain. They found themselves reevaluating partnerships for alternative battery chemistries and even investigating new raw material sources on different continents. By the time the rest of the industry woke up to the crisis, this startup had already diversified its resources and was well ahead in stabilizing production. It was their curiosity-driven approach that spelled the ditch between a near vital bottleneck and a resilient production model. We adopt the perspective that discovery flourishes at the intersection of inquiry and openness. We empower ourselves to detect shifts in our personal and professional environments. But a question alone is not enough. The next step is to transform those inquiries into tangible case studies that reveal deeper patterns and actionable lessons. Our readiness to engage with new data and varied viewpoints is key, even when they contradict cherished beliefs. One compelling example that highlights the potency of such openness emerged when SpaceX questioned the traditional approach to rocket reuse. Instead of accepting the norm that rockets were disposable hardware, we asked a fundamental question: if an airplane can fly multiple times, why not a rocket? By treating that question seriously, we constructed a series of experiments and tests aimed at reentry and landing. We encountered skepticism from industry veterans, but each test produced invaluable data on atmospheric steric stress, material integrity, and propulsion control. Gradually, we built a platform for rocket reuse that redefined spaceflight economics. That is the magic of discovery. That's what seems obvious but is rarely questioned, and follow through with rigorous research. This natural drive to question and gather evidence can illuminate hidden possibilities. Yet it's not just about noticing. It's about diving into a thorough analysis, weighing variables and interpreting results with an unshakable commitment to truth. Sometimes the truth is harsh. Sometimes it points out that we have been running full speed in the wrong direction. It's better to learn that sooner rather than later. When we consider the deeper analysis of how quickly our environment changes, we uncover patterns that often predict the need for adaptation. Consider how swiftly consumer preferences have shifted towards sustainable products. Within a decade, environmentally conscious choices moved from niche markets to global bestsellers. Companies that questioned whether the green movement was just a trend, then analyzed the data to see it was a growing wave, emerged well positioned to lead. Meanwhile, competitors who dismissed these signals found themselves scrambling to catch up, revamp production lines, and rebrand. The difference is the willingness to let data and analysis guide their decisions rather than clinging to outdated assumptions. Deep analysis, however, can be a double-edged sword if not balanced by flexibility. If we spend too long in analysis, we risk paralysis. The trick is to transform our insights into practical strategies quickly and effectively. This is where adaptability truly takes center stage. Once you see how the market, your team, or even your personal circumstances are shifting, your next move is to pivot or fortify, depending on the nature of the change. Agile software development offers a great parallel. Developers constantly release iterative updates rather than waiting for a monolithic perfect version. This approach acknowledges that new requirements will continuously arise. And the best response is iterative improvement rather than indefinite perfectionism. At a practical level, what can you do today to harness the power of discovering early signals? Start by scheduling question sessions within your teams or even your personal reflection. Ask the tough query: is what's not working? Which processes feel outdated? Where are we seeing friction or decline? And just as importantly, measure the outcomes of those questions. Collect data, run small tests, and interpret the results with honesty. In this approach, failure is not a catastrophe, but a clarifying event. You either confirm a positive hypothesis or learn that it's time to discard a non-viable idea. Both outcomes move you forward. When you apply this mindset consistently, a breakthrough occurs. You realize that knowledge evolves. The more you discover, the less certain you become of the status quo, the more likely you are to innovate. It's this journey of perpetual questioning that brings clarity and strategic advantage. In the same way scientists refine theories over time, you refine your business, your career trajectory, or your personal goals through the relentless pursuit of deeper truths. As Albert Einstein once said, the important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. In fewer than 25 words, he elegantly captures the essence of why curiosity fuels growth. When we keep asking questions, we remain open to the shifting winds of life. We remain fluid, agile, and ready to adapt. By embracing the discovery-driven stance, you position yourself to notice the faint rumblings of change before they become earthquakes. Become the person who sees disruption not as a threat, but as a timely warning to adjust course. Remember that ignoring those early signals can be the difference between losing ground or seizing an opportunity. Adaptability begins with a simple but powerful act of opening our eyes and daring to ask, or what if, or why not? And once we learn how to do that with consistency, we free ourselves from the trap of outdated thinking. Let this perspective be your platform for the other foundational points we will explore. The seeds of discovery must be nurtured through storytelling, by analytical data reinforced with interactive processes, and ultimately shaped into problem-solving frameworks. Each step will weave together, forming a holistic approach to adaptability that you can carry into every domain of your life. Stay with me because we're just getting started. The power of storytelling to impart lessons on adaptability cannot be overstated. Data and questions drive the intellectual side of change. Stories engage our emotions and help us envision the human side of disruption and transformation. Some of our most critical shifts in perspective come from hearing the lived experiences of others and recognizing ourselves in their narratives. Let me share a story that has stayed with me for quite some time. A few years back, a brilliant young entrepreneur who believed he had devised a revolutionary platform for personalized healthcare diagnostics. He told me how he spent every waking hour coding, designing and prototypes, recruiting a small but passionate team. His vision was grand: to empower individuals to manage their health data in real time and take proactive measures. Yet despite his cutting-edge algorithm, never gained the traction he expected. He faced regulatory hurdles, insurance complexities, and data privacy challenges that pushed his team to the brink of exhaustion. It seemed like the dream was doomed, trapped under layers of red tape. He described the moment when, after months of setbacks, the team considered calling it quits. They sat in a cramped office one evening, shoulders slumped, confronting the possibility that their idea might be too ambitious. But something remarkable happened. Instead of burying their frustrations, they started telling stories. Each team member recounted personal experiences with healthcare, sometimes tragic, sometimes hopeful, and connected it back to why they started this mission in the first place. One team member spoke about losing a parent to a late diagnosed illness, another about how a close friend navigated the labyrinth of insurance claims. In that collective storytelling session, why resurged with renewed force. Those stories helped them see a path forward. Instead of trying to overhaul the entire healthcare system at once, they pivoted to a more focused solution. An app that simplifies medication tracking for chronic illness patients. It was narrower in scope, but directly solved an urgent need. They eventually partnered with local clinics to test and refine the product. Still faced challenges, each iteration brought them closer to a truly impactful solution. Their journey underscored how personal narratives can fuel resilience and adaptability in the face of daunting systems. Stories hold a unique power because they illuminate how real people struggle, adapt, and sometimes fail before finding success. It's one thing to read about the concept of pivoting in a business manual. It's another to feel the desperation and hope in a founder's voice as he recants nights spent wrestling with a problem. Emotional resonance can galvanize teams, remind us of our ultimate purpose, and help us recalibrate goals. Stories can serve as moral compasses, guiding us through storms of confusion. There is a timeless appeal in the hero's journey, that archetypal path where a protagonist ventures into the unknown, overcomes trials, and returns transformed. The critical lesson is that change seldom unfolds in a straight line. Our hero faces illusions, confronts personal doubts, and grapples with forces beyond control. The real growth happens when the protagonist, through a combination of wit, allies, and sheer tenacity, finds a way to adapt. This narrative structure is not confined to epic mythologies. It repeats in our personal lives, our startups, and our corporate endeavors. It offers a mirror to our own struggles, reminding us that the capacity to adapt is not just an abstract concept, but a live reality for those who persevere. If we shift the lens to the corporate world, we can see how internal storytelling plays a massive role in shaping organizations' adaptability. People connect more with a compelling anecdote than a dry mission statement. Team leaders share stories of past missteps and how they overcame them. It demystifies failure and encourages a culture where employees feel safe to take calculated risks. Progress depends on that psychological safety, which is often built on transparency and shared narratives. In my own journey, I found that weaving story like SpaceX or Tesla challenges into our training sessions keeps everyone aware of why we must stay adaptable. Counting the time we discovered a minuscule manufacturing flaw that halted an entire production line is far more memorable than a general statement like, "Quality control is important." A story about is a testament to how even the smallest variables can trigger massive consequences. Teams hear that it took swift, creative thinking to solve the problem. They remember that adaptability is a necessity, not a luxury. The brilliance of storytelling is how it moves from an emotional hook to a blueprint for solutions. When you empathize with the struggles of a protagonist, you're more likely to internalize the lessons they learned. If that lesson is about staying nimble in the face of external disruptions, the story effectively becomes a tool for behavioral change. Suddenly, your next conversation or strategic meeting is less about avoiding risk and more about how to cope with risk faster and smarter. The narrative has shifted from paralyzing fear to transformative possibility. The challenges in these stories are numerous: funding shortfalls, unexpected competitive setbacks. But solutions emerge when the characters in question regroup, reimagine their objectives, and try new avenues. It's the catalyst for forging fresh partnerships, adopting alternative technologies, or pivoting business models. What we must glean from such tales is the realization that solutions rarely show up as we initially envisioned them, often arise through improvisation, serendipitous connections, or an unexpected synergy between unrelated ideas. When you reflect on stories from your own or those of your own life, you'll find a remarkable pattern. No two journeys are identical, but they often rhyme in how adversity prompts creative action. From these parallels, we derive lessons about the universal human capacity to adapt. You can carry that wisdom forward. You're launching a startup, planning a career shift, or considering new approaches in your personal relationships. Adaptability is a skill set you refine by embracing the narratives that resonate with your own experiences. Hearing the story of that young entrepreneur who pivoted from a sprawling healthcare platform to a focused medication tracking app, you might feel inspired to reevaluate the scope of your current projects. Perhaps you too aiming too big at the start, or maybe your ambition is correct, but you lack the immediate traction to realize it fully. Sharing your experiences, forging emotional connections with team members, and collectively redefining your goals might be the key to sustaining momentum. This is how storytelling catalyzes the next move, the next experiment, and eventually the success you initially envisioned. Walt Disney offered a compact insight that fits our theme resilience perfectly. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. In under 20 words, reminds us that dreams require not just wishful thinking, but also the boldness to adapt and forge onward. When you consider the synergy between storytelling and courage, you see that every compelling narrative encourages the pursuit of something once deemed impossible. It transforms uncertainty from a barrier into a canvas for innovation. Take this lesson to heart. If you want to instill adaptability in yourself or your organization, gather stories, share them openly. Reflect on failures not as tales of defeat, but as chapters that provided priceless lessons. Make it a practice to listen to stories from those around you, colleagues, customers, partners, so you can expand your collective understanding of how adaptation functions in various contexts. In doing so, you construct a tapestry of experiences that guide you through uncharted territory. Through this tapestry, we see that adversity can be rebranded as a dramatic tension in your personal or organizational narrative, serving as the impetus for growth. Those tension points can become the highlight of your story, the reason people invest their energies in your cause, and the seedbed for your next iteration. By embracing the storytelling process, you prepare yourself for a life that is bound to throw curveballs. You also invite others to join you on the journey, creating a culture of empathy, collaboration, and relentless forward motion. When we link arms and shared stories of adaptation, we grow stronger together, ready to meet whatever challenges the future may hold. Let's now transition from the emotional and inspirational bedrock of storytelling to a more rigorous examination of how data, statistics, and market trends inform our adaptive strategies. Emotion moves hearts. Well-interpreted data moves markets. In the rapidly evolving world we inhabit, ignoring the numbers is tantamount to ignoring reality, and that is a luxury no one can afford. When we talk about adaptability in today's global environment, we must also talk about data. The ability to analyze and interpret statistics, notice trends, and apply in-depth research findings is what propels organizations to stay ahead of the curve. There's no denying that emotions and intuition have their place, but ignoring robust statistical analysis can be fatal for any venture. Let's bring the figures into the mix to illustrate the broader context. In the tech sector alone, research shows that organizations capable of rapid adaptation market changes were 46% more likely to increase their revenue year-over-year compared to more rigid competitors. This statistic emerged from a comprehensive study of hundreds of tech firms spanning multiple continents. Furthermore, 58% of these agile organizations reported higher levels of employee satisfaction and lower turnover rates. While numbers can feel impersonal, they offer a macro view that complements the human stories we just explored. These figures underscore a key insight: adaptability is profitable both in financial and cultural terms. Next, let's look at market trends, particularly around emerging technologies. One area I've been deeply involved in is the transition to sustainable energy solutions. over the last decade for electric vehicles has shown exponential growth, supported by data indicating a global decline in battery costs by nearly 80% since 2010. But it's not just about the availability of cheaper batteries. Consumer sentiment has shifted dramatically, with more than 70% of younger generations expressing a preference for environmentally responsible transportation. This aligns with broader trends in energy storage, solar, and wind power, where adoption rates are climbing faster than many analysts predicted. The lesson: when you see multiple data points converging, cost reductions, introductions, changing consumer sentiment, supportive regulations, those signals point to an accelerating transformation in how we move people and goods. Digging deeper, in-depth research reveals that adaptability goes beyond simply recognizing trends. It also demands that we study the interplay between new technologies, user behavior, and regulatory environments. For instance, the rollout of autonomous vehicle technology relies on more than just sophisticated AI and sensors. It also depends on public acceptance legal frameworks and the readiness of infrastructure. Researchers have found that public trust in autonomous systems hinges on transparent safety data, ethical guidelines, and positive real-world experiences. In other words, it's a multifaceted problem that demands a rigorous, holistic view. This is where companies can stumble if they only focus on, say, perfecting the technology but ignore the legal or societal context. Academic papers and industry analysis can reveal hidden barriers or opportunities that a superficial understanding might miss. Practical application of these insights means you consistently check your assumptions against real-world feedback. If the data says consumer expectations are shifting in favor of environmentally friendly solutions, you integrate that knowledge into product design, marketing, and supply chain decisions. Real adaptability comes when you align your organization's strategy with these validated insights rather than clinging to outdated mental models. Consider how swiftly entire industries pivoted to digital platforms in response to the global pandemic. Companies that had already invested in digital transformation could scale up remote solutions quickly, while those that hesitated found themselves scrambling for survival. Market data showing a spike in remote collaboration tools was not just a curious artifact. Direct indicator that consumer and enterprise needs had radically shifted. Agile firms recognized the trend and redeployed resources toward digital customer engagement, online sales channels, and virtual team management. To leverage data effectively, you need a structure within your organization that values continuous learning. This means establishing feedback loops through customer surveys, user analytics, or pilot programs. It also means devoting resources to R&D and being willing to pivot based on early indicators. If the numbers say your product is performing well in one demographic but poorly in another, that's not necessarily a failure. It's an opportunity to refine your approach. Some of the most revolutionary products emerge when companies studied these variations closely and identified untapped user segments or new feature requirements. Adaptability often relies on rapidly implementing changes based on these research findings. Data should not gather dust in a folder. It should inspire immediate action. You're adjusting your marketing message to resonate with a new demographic or redesigning a core feature to match user feedback. The ability to transform insights into real-world improvements is what defines an adaptive organization. Tesla, for instance, frequently releases over the air software updates for its vehicles. That's a direct application of data-driven insights. If logs indicate a software glitch in the autopilot system, an update is quickly rolled out, improving the experience for all users without requiring a trip to the service center. This form of continuous enhancement redefines how we think about product life cycles, extending them far beyond the initial sale. Looking ahead, future predictions point toward an even more complex world where data streams multiply and decisions must be made at lightning speed. The rise of artificial intelligence means we can glean deeper insights from unstructured data, everything from social media sentiment theory to satellite imagery, allowing us to spot trends that might not be apparent through traditional analytics. Companies are already using AI to forecast consumer demand, detect fraud, and personalize user experiences. But the biggest leap forward might be the adoption of quantum computing and specialized tasks such as cryptography, complex simulations, and optimization problems. If quantum-based systems deliver even a fraction of the promised computational power, our ability to handle intricate problem sets will expand exponentially. This will open up new frontiers in healthcare, climate modeling, and space exploration, but it will also demand a heightened level of adaptability. New ethical dilemmas and regulatory challenges will emerge, requiring us to remain flexible not only in technology, but also in values and governance. Elon Musk is often quoted for his focus on evidence-based reasoning. But let me introduce a perspective from Thomas Edison, who once said, "Value of an idealizing the using of it. At a compact 14 words, it's close to our 15-word minimum, but resonates strongly with how we should approach data. Gathering insights is only the first step. The real value emerges when we incorporate those insights into daily operations and strategic direction. This is where adaptability becomes a living process, uniting curiosity, storytelling, and hard data into a cohesive roadmap for progress. To conclude this section, data-informed adaptability is your passport to thriving in fast, changing markets. Let emotion and narrative guide your sense of purpose. Let the numbers keep you honest. Use them to validate or refute assumptions, test new ideas, and measure results. In doing so, become the kind of leader or organization that not only senses the wind, but also harnesses them to sail confidently into the future. The emotional context of storytelling may light the spark. Rigorous analysis channels that spark into sustainable, replicable success. Embrace both, and you'll find yourself well prepared for disruptions on the horizon, whatever shape they take. So far, we've examined how curiosity-driven discovery, compelling storytelling, and data-based analysis shape our ability to adapt. But there's another essential piece of the puzzle: interactive processes that bring people together to learn and grow in real time. Adaptability is in environments where teams actively share experiences, brainstorm solutions, and practice new techniques. While personal reflection is critical, collective engagement can accelerate the pace at which we recognize the need for change and implement it effectively. Take a moment to imagine you're in a room with your closest collaborators. What if, instead of everyone passively absorbing a lecture or a presentation, they're invited to participate in a structured thought exercise? Something that forces them to envision a radical shift in the market or a sweeping technological leap. In that exercise, each person contributes their perspective on how such a change might affect their role or the broader goals of the organization. This is not idle speculation. It's a rehearsal for real-world disruption. Regularly engaging in such mental simulations, you prepare your team to pivot rapidly when unanticipated events or opportunities arise. One powerful form of interactivity is the future scenario workshop, where small groups take a particular hypothetical, say a sudden shortage of a vital supply chain component, and then map out the ramifications for product development and customer relations. They're compelled to propose solutions on the spot, wrestling with the tensions and trade-offs. The experience is vividly imprinted in their minds, so that if or when a similar real situation materializes, they are not paralyzed by shock. They've already walked through possible responses, building a kind of muscle memory for adaptability. Group discussions can serve as catalysts for breakthroughs, especially when team members hail from diverse backgrounds. An engineer might see a structural problem, while a marketer sees a communication gap. A financial officer sees a budgeting constraint. By overlaying these perspectives, the group gains a multidimensional view of the challenge, often uncovering solutions that no single individual could have conceived in isolation. Synergy underscores the importance of diversity in building adaptive teams. Varied viewpoints not only broaden the range of possible solutions, but also help anticipate unintended consequences. Experience sharing is another vital component of interactivity. This could take the form of storytelling circles, internal conferences, or peer mentoring programs. When people talk openly about their challenges and lessons learned, others can absorb new strategies without having to endure the same hardships. In many startup hackathons operate in a similar vein. Teams converge for an intensive period to solve a pressing problem or prototype a new idea. Everyone leaves the event with new knowledge, fresh connections, and a sense of collaborative accomplishment that primes them for tackling future obstacles. Direct practice is where theory meets application. Playing sessions or real-time simulations offer safe spaces for trial and error. Imagine you're training a customer support team on how to handle a sudden influx of technical complaints due to a software update. Instead of just telling them how to respond, you simulate frantic customer calls with people acting as angry clients. In the moment, the team must apply conflict resolution skills, product knowledge, and emotional intelligence. Mistakes, but they'll also learn far faster than they would through passive instruction. By the end of the simulation, they're not just conceptually aware of what to do. They've practiced it. That practical experience is invaluable in forging an adaptable workforce. Once the interactive exercises, group discussions, and direct practice sessions conclude, it's essential to have a succinct learning summary. This could be a short debrief where participants articulate what they've discovered about their own strengths and weaknesses, as well as how they might apply those insights going forward. If you skip this reflective step, the learnings often remain stuck in the activity rather than transferred to real-world behavior. By making space for reflection, you embed adaptability into the organization's culture. If you're a leader or aspire to be one, cultivating an environment where interactive learning is the norm can dramatically elevate your team's resilience. It builds trust, fosters creativity, and sets the stage for rapid, effective responses to unexpected challenges. Time and again, companies that excel in this collaborative approach outperform their competitors in navigating volatile markets. They may not always have the perfect answer initially. Culture of shared exploration ensures they find better answers more quickly than those that operate in silos. An example that illustrates the impact of interactivity is a well-known social media giant that introduced frequent internal hackathons. These events weren't just coding marathons, They were interdisciplinary gatherings where marketers, data analysts, and engineers teamed up. Out of these hackathons emerged some of the platform's most innovative features, including improved user privacy settings and new content formats that expanded engagement. The company discovered that when people from different specialties directly interact, experimenting and prototyping in a supportive space accelerates not just product innovation, but also the organization's collective adaptability. A relevant quote that captures the spirit of collaborative adaptability comes from Henry Ford, who said, "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success." At 16 words, meets our criteria and reminds us that while assembling a capable group is the first step, the real magic lies in the dynamics that keep a team engaged and evolving over time. Whether it's a small project team, a startup, multinational corporation, interactive methods infuse the spirit of adaptability into everyday operations. People have a chance to voice their ideas, test out new approaches, reflect on the outcomes, are far more prepared to adapt when circumstances shift. They're not just receiving top-down directives, they're active participants in shaping their organization's evolution. If you're wondering how to implement these interactive strategies, start modestly. Schedule a 1-hour brainstorming session where you encourage every participant to share one risk the company or project might soon face, along with a potential response, or set up brief role-playing modules in your next meeting to test how your team handles different negotiation scenarios. The key is to make these sessions regular, varied, and safe. Over time, you'll see a transformation in how your team collaborates, solves problems, and pivots under pressure. And so, we add another layer to our expanding blueprint for adaptability. From curiosity-driven discovery to story-based emotional resonance bolstered by data-driven analysis, we now incorporate the power of interactivity, thought exercises, group discussions, shared experiences, direct practice, reflective summaries. With these elements in place, we move closer to a holistic framework that equips individuals and organizations to flourish amid perpetual change. Our final step in this journey will be to dive into a problem-solving perspective that synthesizes all these elements, helping you identify challenges, analyze root causes, propose creative solutions, detail actionable plans, and define success metrics. This approach not only sustains but amplifies adaptability, enabling you to systematically transform obstacles into stepping stones for growth. Let's move there now. All of the insights we covered, discovery, storytelling, analysis, and interactivity, culminate in one overarching goal: solving problems effectively. Adaptability is more than just reacting to change. It's proactively transforming each challenge into an avenue for growth. The problem-solving lens gives us a structured method to do precisely that, ensuring that new information, emotional intelligence, data, collaborative energy converge in meaningful outcomes. Let's walk through a perspective that you can apply to any obstacle, big or small, to harness adaptability at its most tangible form. By identifying the challenge at its core, often the most urgent issues are symptoms of deeper systemic problems. Maybe sales are dropping. The immediate cause could be a flawed marketing campaign. Root issue might be that the product no longer aligns with evolving customer needs. Or in a personal context, you might struggle with time management. The real culprit could be insufficient prioritization of tasks that align with your long-term goals. Recognizing this gap between symptoms and underlying causes requires honesty, open-mindedness, and a willingness to question established norms. Once you zero in on the root cause, conduct a deeper analysis. Ask, why does this issue persist? Are there structural barriers, outdated assumptions, resource constraints perpetuating it? In an organization, root cause analysis can take many forms: interviews, data reviews, design thinking workshops, or user feedback sessions. The essence is to gather enough evidence to confirm that you've accurately pinpointed what's truly fueling the challenge. In the spirit of adaptability, remain open to the possibility that your initial hypothesis might be wrong. Embrace the data that contradicts your assumptions. It's your best ally in finding a real solution rather than a quick fix. From there, propose a range of possible solutions. This step is where creativity and adaptability intersect. Solutions need not fit traditional molds. In fact, the best ones rarely do. Consider how Netflix pivoted from mailing DVDs to becoming a streaming giant, or how Slack originated from a failed gaming startup that repurposed its internal communication tool. These innovations highlight that solutions often arise when we rethink basic premises. Don't limit yourself to incremental tweaks, entertain radical possibilities. Encourage brainstorming sessions where no idea is immediately dismissed. The aim is to generate a menu of options, some risky, so you can later refine your approach using data and collective wisdom. After you have a pool of viable strategies, it's time to craft an action plan. Here, detail is crucial. Define responsibilities, timelines, resources, and milestones. If you're solution building a business model, map out a transition plan to keep existing customers engaged while attracting new ones. If your solution targets personal growth, outline daily habits or routines to track your progress. Make it specific enough that everyone involved knows precisely what to do and how to measure success. Lastly, define success metrics. You can't adapt effectively if you lack a yardstick to measure your progress. In a corporate setting, success metrics might include revenue growth, user retention rates, or time to market improvements. In a personal context, it could be hours spent on skill development or progress toward a fitness goal. The key is choosing metrics that reflect meaningful change rather than vanity indicators. If your objective is to expand your user base, counting total downloads might not be as revealing as the average time spent in your app or the frequency of repeat visits. Be clear about what you'll measure and set targets that push you to stretch. Remain feasible given your resources and constraints. A powerful illustration of this problem-solving approach in action is the way SpaceX handled early rocket landing failures. First, we identified the real challenge. Not just that rockets were crashing, but that we lacked sufficient control over descent and landing sequences. We dug deeper into aerodynamic modeling, propulsion data, and landing gear design until we found the root issues, everything from in-throttle limitations to the complexities of guidance algorithms. We then proposed multiple solutions, adjusting the engine layout, implementing grid fins for better control, and refining the landing gear mechanism. After testing these ideas individually, we formulated a clear action plan to integrate them all, complete with timelines and success metrics such as landing stability and hardware reusability rates. When those metrics finally aligned with our targets, we knew we had a breakthrough. This structured approach transformed repeated failures into a vantage point for a revolutionary innovation. Consider another quote, this one from Winston Churchill. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. In 18 words, Churchill reminds us that the process of solving problems is ongoing. Each achievement is a plateau, not the end of the journey. Likewise, each failure is the learning curve. Definitive end, adaptability flourishes when we see every attempt as a valuable data point guiding us closer to a refined solution. In your own problem-solving endeavors, keep in mind that not all solutions will work right away. Adaptability means being prepared to iterate. Proposed action plan doesn't yield the expected results within a given time frame. Regroup with your team. Revisit your assumptions and data. Launch an updated set of experiments. This iterative cycle can feel demanding, but it's the engine of sustained innovation. By repeatedly applying this framework, identifying challenges, analyzing causes, generating solutions, planning actions, and defining success metrics, you make adaptability a permanent fixture in your life or organization rather than a sporadic response to crises. When you become proficient in this method, you'll find that problems once perceived as insurmountable start to appear as manageable puzzles. You'll build a reservoir of confidence, knowing you possess both the mindset and the toolbox to tackle new challenges. Moreover, you'll likely inspire those around you. People gravitate toward problem solvers who demonstrate consistent adaptability. They sense that these leaders will navigate turbulent times successfully. That trust forms the bedrock of cohesive teams and thriving enterprises. As we close out this comprehensive exploration of adaptability, spanning curiosity, storytelling, analytics, interactivity, and problem solving, remember that these elements are interlinked. A question can lead to data that inspires a story, which sparks group engagement, culminating in a structured problem-solving method. Or a narrative might lead you to ask deeper questions, which then encourages data-driven investigations, after which a collaborative exercise pinpoints the real challenge that needs solving. This network of adaptability practices forms a robust defense against the unpredictability that defines modern life. Now that you've seen how these 5 perspectives interplay, you're equipped with a versatile toolkit. Embrace the synergy among them. Lean on questions to open your mind, on stories to anchor your heart, on data to ground your decisions, on collaborative exercises to strengthen your team dynamic, and on problem-solving frameworks to translate theory into tangible results. The future, in all its uncertainty, becomes less daunting when you have such a multi-pronged approach. With these key points in hand, let's step into the final part of our journey, envisioning a future where adaptability isn't just a reaction but a guiding principle. We'll look at how you can harness your newfound insights to create a visionary roadmap, rally support, and conclude with an inspiring reflection on the endless potential that awaits those who stand ready to adapt. Let's move forward. A future shaped by adaptability is one where individuals, teams, entire industries view change not but as a canvas for continual reinvention. As we stand on the brink of unprecedented developments in artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and space exploration, our ability to evolve in real time will define our collective destiny. Now, let's chart a path forward, one that draws from everything we've discussed and aims to push the boundaries of what's possible. To imagine a horizon where daily life has been radically transformed by new technologies. Self-driving cars glide effortlessly on roads designed to be safer for pedestrians, while the power grid runs on clean energy sources, reducing our carbon footprint significantly. Medical breakthroughs leverage genetic editing and advanced diagnostics to predict and treat illnesses before they can become life-threatening. Digital platforms connect people across continents, enabling collaboration on problems once deemed insurmountable. This isn't a far-fetched science fiction scenario. It's the natural extension of trends already in motion. It will only become a beneficial reality if we show the flexibility to shape these emerging tools with foresight, ethics, and creativity. In that sense, adaptation is our moral responsibility to steer the future toward outcomes that elevate humanity. As a challenge, consider which areas of your own life or organization stand most at risk if the pace change accelerates beyond your current capacity. Maybe it's a reliance on a single revenue stream that could vanish overnight due to disruptive competitors. Or perhaps it's a personal skill set that feels outdated, leaving you less relevant in a rapidly shifting job market. Identifying vulnerabilities is not about succumbing to fear, about shining a spotlight on the places where your adaptive mindset can affect real transformation. Set aside time to conduct a future audit where you assess how ongoing trends, technological, economic, environmental, might impact your domain over the next 5 to 10 years. Use the frameworks we've explored to turn those findings into actionable steps, but you need not walk this journey alone. If you decide to implement these ideas in a broader organizational setting to providing the support systems people need to thrive, offer ongoing training so employees can develop new capabilities rather than fear automation taking their jobs. Invest in mentorship programs where seasoned veterans guide younger team members, sharing stories of how they navigated past upheavals. Create collaborative forums where people can pitch ideas, test them quickly, openly discuss failures. By fostering an ecosystem of learning, you ensure that adaptability permeates every layer of your organization. It's a vote of confidence in your people, signaling that you trust them to pivot, ideate, calculate risks. On a personal level, support can come from communities and networks that share your thirst for growth. Whether it's an online mastermind group, a local business forum, or a circle of friends who challenge you to keep evolving, surround yourself with others who value adaptation. Collective energy can be a potent catalyst for sustained change. Those who walk the path with you, brainstorming, sharing resources, and exchanging constructive feedback become allies in your quest to remain future ready. Their insights and encouragement often make the difference between stalling at the first sign of difficulty and persevering toward a new horizon. When you talk about your commitment to adaptability, make sure to communicate in a way that sparks enthusiasm rather than dread. Too often, discussions of change highlight the demise of old systems, but fail to illuminate the opportunities that arise. Instead, paint a vivid picture of how adopting new tools, exploring emerging markets, or acquiring fresh skills can broaden everyone's possibilities. Encourage your peers, mentors, and team members to dream about the next frontier. Show them a roadmap that includes stepping stones and milestones so they can see how consistent progress unfolds. Above all, let your vision be powered by genuine optimism. This doesn't mean ignoring the real problems we face, climate threats, geopolitical tensions, and social inequalities, but recognizing that the capacity to adapt gives the means to tackle these challenges head on. It's a perspective that marries practicality with aspiration. We take stock of the obstacles, then mobilize the best of our intellect, creativity, and collective willpower to overcome them. In forging ahead, be open about the fact that not every experiment will succeed. When faced with disappointment or even outright failure, your response will set the tone for those around you. Model the adaptive spirit by sharing what went wrong, why it happened, how you plan to move forward. When others see that mistakes are tree blocks rather than black marks, they'll be more inclined to take initiative. That cultural shift from blame to curiosity is one of the most powerful gifts a leader can bestow. Now, as we reach the end of our exploration, I want you to carry the core message close to your heart. Adaptability is more than a skill, it's a stance toward life. By melding discovery, storytelling, rigorous analysis, interactive collaboration, and structured problem solving, you equip yourself to face whatever comes. You become the author of your own evolution, capable of navigating chaos while maintaining a sense of direction and purpose. Let's bring this all home with an inspiring reflection. The simple truth is that the world will continue to change faster than we can often predict. But remember, it's in times of great flux that breakthroughs occur. The world didn't get electric cars, advanced rockets, transformative digital platforms by standing still. The achievements emerged when determined individuals, armed with a belief in what could be, set out to adapt to every challenge that came their way. They endured failure after failure, not because they were gluttons for punishment, but because they saw each setback as a clue, a push to refine their strategy, and an invitation to innovate further. In your own life, you have that same reservoir of potential. You may not build rockets or revolutionize transportation, but in your sphere, in your family, your workplace, your community, you can be the person who embraces change with a spirit of possibility. You can be the one who, when faced with uncertainty, says, this is our opportunity to learn and grow. And in doing so, you spark the same mindset in others, seeding a ripple effect that can uplift countless lives. Remember, you're standing on the threshold of a future that is taking shape every day. This moment is your call to action, your invitation to become not just an observer, but an active shaper of what lies ahead. Step into the unknown with curiosity instead of anxiety, with determination instead of resignation, and with the full confidence that no matter what happens, you have the power to adapt, evolve, and succeed. The hero's journey we discussed doesn't conclude when you find a solution. It continues as you share the wisdom and apply it to each new chapter of your story. So take this energy into your personal and professional pursuits. Challenge yourself to ask more questions, share more stories, deeper data, engage collaboratively, and tackle problems with structured creativity. Rally your communities, both online and offline, to adopt the same spirit of agile progress. Remain vigilant for the signals of transformation and never stop refining your approach, because when we adapt together, we don't just keep pace with the future, we shape it into something worthy of our highest aspirations. Thank you for journeying with me through these reflections on change and adaptability. May go forward with renewed courage, ready to embrace the dynamic nature of life, and inspired to create the future you wish to see. We stand on the precipice of limitless possibilities, and our willingness to grow, our adaptability, will chart the course to get us there. Always remember, the power to adapt is the power to redefine the landscape of opportunity for ourselves and for generations to come.